Good day, everybody. Jeffrey Beamer here, Senior Investment Strategist over at ewotrader.com. And if you've been with us for a while on this show, you know that we don't just talk stocks or earnings. We talk about how to profit from company earnings each and every quarter. Each and every week of every quarter. So this week, the week of May 5th, finds us in the most concentrated week of earnings. We have 1,370 companies declaring earnings this week. I'm focused on about 89 of them. We're going to highlight the top of those, the creme de la creme of those as it relates to earnings and their expected moves this week. And so you'll want to hang out with us as we go through that list, but also we're going to talk about last week's trade, which made a pop. So we're going to see how we're doing in that trade. And we're also going to give a new trade out for a stock that has upcoming earnings later this week. So everybody hang on and we will get started right now. Okay, as we go through our list of stocks, remember, since we do go through a pretty long list of stocks, we have a chapter feature at the bottom of the video. Please refer to that if you want to jump back to a particular stock or a subject that we're talking about week to week here on Earnings Call. And you can see as we have our list up on the screen right now, on the left-hand side of this page are stocks that we call our breakout candidates. These are stocks that all have expected moves, double digit moves in their earnings forecast, meaning the market is forecasting greater than 10% moves for all of these candidates. And you're going to be amazed at some of these, what the actual number is. And then on the right-hand side of the sheet, okay, we have our quiet stocks. Now, we have two different publications for earnings. We have our Delta Neutral Breakout. That does cover these breakout stocks of greater than 10%, and Delta Neutral Income, which is on the right-hand side, we have for these quiet stocks. And we use different option strategies for each one. So let's begin with the quiet stocks and quiet candidates. This is where we will use strategies such as iron condors and condors each and every week. Last week to our subscribers, we went 3-0. Okay, so a solid week last week. We expect another solid week this week. And here's an example of a quiet stock. Now, Pfizer does not have earnings this week, but this is a historically quiet stock through earnings. And I have the earnings highlighted with a vertical line and the ellipse. So you'll see here that through the earnings announcement, not only does the stock trade pretty quietly, that's a $6 range over a 1-year period, that through its earnings cycles, it just doesn't move very much, okay? Single digit moves, that's what it does, okay? Usually less than 5%. So very quiet, that's an example. So why don't we get to our list, and I'm actually going to go through the chart here as we focus on the list. We have, really, believe it or not, the focus here this week is on energy. We have a lot of energy names, as you'll see here, such as Constellation Brands tomorrow, Occidental Petroleum on Wednesday, Cheniere and ConocoPhillips on Thursday, and Enbridge on Friday. So energy really dominates the list this week, but also there's a lot of consumer discretionary like Marriott and Disney. Okay, some crypto like Coinbase. So there's I forgot about Cheniere there, LNG. So let's get to our list this week and see what's going on here on the quiet side. We're going to begin with today. Clorox here has earnings today after market close. So today is Monday, May 5th. After market close today, Clorox has a estimated move, which is actually on the higher side for our quiet stocks, but it's still under 7%. Okay. And you can see, look at the consolidation that it has. And it's just been in a slow, gentle downtrend, just a big sell-off here, gone from literally 170 back towards the beginning of the year, now trading at 138. But we're not worried about that overall trend. We're going to focus on what the stock does just through the earnings. This estimated move is not what we are predicting, or myself is predicting. This is what the options market is pricing into the options for the estimated move of the stock. And here we look at a move of less than 7%. So for Clorox, if you could get say do an iron condor where you're selling premium as a net and then get your break evens above to say 10% out of the money, that is a great trade where you're putting the odds in your favor. The odds of Clorox jumping over 10% is actually very low. Okay, because not only doesn't really do that in the past, but the options aren't pricing that in either. So you get both of those advantages. Okay, so moving forward here, let's focus on Marriott for a moment. The hotelier will declare on Tuesday, May 6th, before market open, so tomorrow morning, and the estimated move here is less than 6%. So Marriott has rallied off the lows, similar to the rest of the market, but the past earnings events are usually under 5%, and right now the market is pricing in another move less than 6%, so another good iron condor candidate. Okay, now jumping into a totally different sector here, we have Archer Daniels Midland, ADM, okay, ADM, Archer Daniels Midland, and we have a earnings announcement scheduled for them for Tuesday, May 6th, also before market open. Remember, this is a very busy week, so they're cramming everybody in. The estimated move here is less than 6%. So this is a $47 stock. So, you can calculate where the possible maximum move is based upon where the options are pricing right now. And any sideways strategy, such as an iron condor, a condor, butterfly, or calendar spread, doesn't really give us maybe the width. But if by chance we can find something there, those are also two potential strategies. But I focus mainly on the iron condors just because it gives me a range for the stock to trade in through the earnings announcement, and I can profit from that. Given the move staying within the estimated move. Okay. Now, moving forward here, we have CEG. This is Constellation Energy Group. They will declare on Tuesday, May 6th, before market open as well. The estimated move here is less than 6%. Now, this is a $200 almost $50 stock. Okay. Currently trading at $248. All right. This stock, again, is expected to move well less than 10%. I did actually do a check on Constellation, and right now we can get a pretty decent trade off 10% out of the money. Okay, so that 10% away by putting our break evens at 10% away. All right, and how you do that is you if you know how to do an iron condor, you can manipulate the strikes to make them wider or more narrow. And if you don't know that strategy, you can look it up. There's all sorts of free resources, including on our website at ewotrader.com. You can look up the strategy and how to apply it, and or you could subscribe to our publication. But we have an estimated move here of less than 6%. Actually, it was priced right at 6%, which I found very interesting. Right at 6%. For Constellation Energy. And again, May 6th, Tuesday, May 6th, before market open. Moving forward, really down the week a little bit, we have Occidental Petroleum. All right. Now, Oxy has their earnings announcement scheduled for Wednesday, May 7th, after market close. Pretty quiet stock here. All right. Less than a 5% move for Oxy, for Occidental Petroleum, okay, nickname Oxy, and hence their symbol OXY. And so $39 stock. This is kind of a harder stock to maybe do an iron condor on, but it is sometimes doable. But again, less than 5% move. Okay. Now, getting away from energy for a moment and moving over to consumer discretionary, we do have Walt Disney announcing on Wednesday, actually before market open. All right. And the estimated move here is on the higher side of our quiet stocks with a potential move a little less than 8%. All right. The last one I noticed here, not two earnings ago, Disney, just to show you how things change, Disney back in November, they had an estimated move greater than 10%. and you do see this gap in the stock and then the stock kind of running up higher, well, interesting that once was on our breakout list. Now it's on our quiet list. And that's just the expansion and contraction of how the option market makers are pricing out these options. A few more quiet stocks to go. We do have LNG, which is Cheniere Energy. All right. Although the stock has literally gone from 190 to 234 pretty darn quick. We're not worried about the overall trend. Once again, we're worried about what it's going to do through its earnings announcement. So Cheniere Energy is Thursday, May 8th, before market open. And for LNG, they are going to have an estimated move, believe it or not, less than 4%. Okay. A less than 4% move for Cheniere Energy. Now, this is a $234 stock. This is also a potentially good candidate because stocks that are up here in this price range, you can also, often go out of the money quite a ways and still have some nice premium in the options. And that way we could maybe do something pretty wide here and bring in some pretty decent premium for Cheniere Energy. The symbol is LNG. And once again, their earnings announcement is Thursday, May 8th, before market open. Okay, two more stocks on our quiet list before we get to those breakout stocks. So hang with us here. ConocoPhillips, back in the energy sector, they're going to have earnings on Thursday, the 8th of May, before market open as well. And look at this. Even though the stock has been very volatile, look at this gap down, run up before that, and then just move. But look at the last earnings announcement, just dead in the water. Okay, same thing here. We're not worried about the stock going from 90 to 105 and then from 105 back down to 80. Okay, in literally 2 weeks. Well, this whole process here was a month. All right, in 4 weeks, it went from 90 to 105, from 105 to 80. All right, pretty volatile, but we're just focused on what is happening through the earnings announcement. That's all we care about, and that's less than 3% for ConocoPhillips. And finally, Enbridge is also in the energy sector, and they will declare on Friday morning before market open. Okay, that's Friday, May 9th, before market open. And same thing here. Stock's been a little volatile here recently, but expected move through that earnings announcement is only 3%. And you can see this stock is currently trading about $46. So a quiet number expected for Enbridge. ENB is the symbol there. And we expect that to kind of come and go without much fanfare. All right. So moving on here as we go through our list, if you kind of like this information of really, we're focused on making money on stocks through their earnings announcements. All right. Now, a lot of people shy away from these announcements. They try to protect their stocks or protect their holdings because they don't know which way the stock is going to go. And you know what? We don't either. But we use strategies that actually can make money if the stock goes nowhere or the stock breaks out and runs. And we're going to talk about those here in just a moment. But if you like this information, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll get you that information each and every week right here, because this is powerful information for you. And especially if you're an options trader, earnings are a great, consistent trading methodology to trade around. All right. So let's get on to our breakout stocks. Now, let me give you an example of a breakout stock, one of my historic favorites. All right. Let me show you this stock. It's Akamai. Now, Akamai does not have earnings this week, but let me show you just the difference here. As you see, each earnings announcement, which is identified by the vertical red lines and the ellipse, look at how the stock just gaps around. And really, the last earnings announcement here, the stock went from literally trading at 100 and dropped down to $78 overnight. Okay, so it just in one move, and that is the power of these breakout stocks. With these stocks, we feature them in our delta neutral breakout portfolio, and we usually do strategies such as, and these are really basic option strategies called straddles and strangles around these. But there is a little bit of a trick, because sometimes the option market makers price in an expected move that's greater or less than the than what the stock historically moves at, and that is a potential for disaster if you're not careful or you're not paying attention. All right, so let's get to our list here, and we're going to start with one of my favorites, and that's Palantir. Okay, now Palantir will have earnings announcement today. That is today, Monday, May 5th, after market close. The estimated move here on Palantir is coming in right now at greater than 18%. All right, 18%. So if I can get a straddle or strangle off at around 10 or 11% of the current value of the stock, that would be great. Okay, sometimes you can do that, sometimes you can't. Okay, but right now the historical move for this, I think, is a little tick higher, around 19% is what the historical average is for Palantir. If we go back and look at previous earnings announcements, I mean, look at that nice gap going from $82 and gapping up to 103. All right, that's a $20 move on an $80 stock is pretty. That's a pretty nice little move. And then back here, doesn't look like a big gap, but you're talking about a stock that was trading at $41 and then gaps at $51. So a $10 move on a $40 stock is pretty darn good. Okay, that's well over 20%, and that is what is priced in right now is actually greater than 18%. So they're thinking another big move for Palantir today, and we will be watching most definitely. Now, next on our list is stock that you may or may not be familiar with, called Upstart Holdings. But this stock is an amazing little stock. It's a $50 stock, but boy, does this thing move through its earnings announcements. They will declare their next earnings announcement on Tuesday, May 6th, after market close, and the expected move for this stock is greater than 35%. All right, in one move. And you can see here, look at this previous earnings announcement. The stock went from 70 to what got up there at a high of $90.44 before settling off that a little bit. Okay, that's a big move. And then earnings event prior to that was back here. Look at this candle. I mean, just after market close, the next day the stock gaps up. It closed at around $55. It opened the next day at $65 and closed at $80. All right. On this little stock. So this stock is a historic mover, and they will declare earnings tomorrow. That's Tuesday, May 6th, after market close, and we expect more fireworks from this little company called Upstart on their earnings announcement. Now, a popular stock that we've traded a lot and have great success with is a super microcomputer. SMCI, they will declare on Tuesday. Oh, that is not February 11th. That was their last earnings announcement. That would be May 6th after market close. All right. And the expected move here is greater than 18% for SMCI. All right. And their last earnings announcement, look at this. Stock didn't really react through their last earnings announcement, but then take a look. The stock literally goes from pre-earnings announcement of $40 and within 5 days is trading up here above 60. So this stock moved $20 after their earnings announcement. So it took a couple of days. All right, but that is the potential, and that's part of the trick of how do you know what expiration cycle to pick. Well, there you go. That's where experience kind of comes in to play, and pricing in of these options. And do I have an edge in this trade or do I not? Okay, and our subscribers get that benefit of from me each and every week as we price these. I price these out every day and on every stock that we're looking at, and to find those stocks that have an edge through their through their upcoming earnings announcement, because all these stocks have their earnings announcements. All right, next on our list is Dutch Brothers Coffee. Okay, Dutch Brothers, believe it or not, coffee can make you a lot of money. All right, not just in buying necessarily the stock, but of just trading the earnings announcements. So Dutch Brothers will declare earnings on Wednesday, May 7th, after market close. The expected move here, look at that, greater than 25%. Greater than 25% is where the expected move is. You can see the last earnings announcement back in February. The stock literally went from approximately $64 and gapped higher and actually closed around $83. So a big move there last earnings cycle on Dutch Brothers. And I do like this kind of consolidation pattern. Look at these small little candles. The stock is consolidating right before that earnings announcement. I love that type of action because we often get a big pop after the earnings announcement. Now, another stock coming up with an earnings announcement that is a big potential mover is AppLovin. Funny little name, okay? AppLovin, but make no bones, this stock can make you some serious money if you get the options pricing right. All right. Now, this is a $300 stock. All right. Stocks like this are only to be traded because straddles and strangles often will cost between $2,500 and $3,500, if not a little bit more, especially for a stock like AppLovin. I should have checked the option pricing before we came online, but you could expect to pay, well over $3,000 for that straddle or strangle. And so it's only appropriate for larger accounts. All right. Larger accounts in this case would be $75,000, $100,000 for a stock like this. Okay. Some of these stocks like SMCI, that's a $32 stock. A small trading account of say $10,000 can easily trade SMCI, but for a stock like AppLovin, and our next stock as well takes a bigger portfolio, and that is Carvana. And my goodness, I don't know where my little boxes keep going, but we'll get you that information right now on Carvana. Carvana will have its earnings on Wednesday, May 5th, after market close. Okay, Wednesday after market close, and the estimated move there on Carvana is going to be, if I can find it on my list. Here we go. Coming up, 21%. Okay. Right now, coming in at 21% is the estimated move for Carvana. So, there it is right there. Look at this. The expected move when we priced it out was greater than 17%. And so now we're looking at possibly even as high as 21% coming up. So all I had to do was just compress my chart a little bit, and there was my box. All right. So earnings on Wednesday, May 7th, after market close, the expected move here is greater than 17%. Now, Carvana, this is a $257 stock. Okay. And, this used to be one of my favorites to trade, but now it's gotten a little expensive. So smaller traders, probably not a stock for you to trade. Okay. But remember, there's always those that come, and sometimes we call it come and go. Sometimes their price is in $200. Next thing you know, they're trading at $100 or less. Okay. And that actually is what has happened to our next stock. So before we get to our next stock, let me just summarize Carvana. Great potential here. If you get the option pricing right, the expected move is greater than 17%. They will have earnings on Wednesday, May 7th, after market close. Okay. Now, that stock that I was talking about is Shopify. All right. This stock used to be a big high flyer. Now, I believe they have split a couple of times. Here we go. I knew back here, look at that, $175, and then they rally up to 90 and get up to 125, and then here we're settling down around that $100. So the market is kind of reevaluating Shopify. This is a historical mover. All right. And take a look at this. They declare on Thursday, May 8th, before market open. Okay. So this Thursday, the expected move here is greater than 20%. All right. Greater than 20%. So Shopify is still a good potential mover. Now, here's the thing. last earnings announcement, it consolidated. Okay. It consolidated through the earnings announcement. So it's important to know what to do when this sort of thing happens. How do you manage the trade? Okay. Because you're not going to get that big move and those big profits right away. You sometimes have to wait for them. All right. Now, the previous move, look at this big move for Shopify. Stock went from literally $90, gapped higher, and opened the next day at 107. So from 90 to 107 just in an instant. And there is a wick there. The stock actually traded much higher before settling down at the end of the day. But then the day following, you got that follow through, and the stock closed at 115. So in 2 days, the stock went from 90 to $115. That is the potential for a stock like Shopify. And at $100, usually a $10,000 or $15,000 trading account can handle a stock like this. All right, but expect a big pop, either direction, a big pop or a big drop for Shopify as we get into their earnings announcement on Thursday, May 8th, before market open. Okay, we got 2 more stocks until we get to our trades. You're going to want to see those. We have Affirm. Affirm is also a historic mover, usually moving greater than 15%. Right now, pricing was coming in a little over 16% is the expected move for Affirm. They will have their earnings announcement on Thursday, May 8th, after market close. Okay, Thursday, May 8th, after market close. The expected move here, look at that, is greater than 16% for Affirm Holdings. All right, a big financial company. This is also a company that helps kind of the low to middle income earners kind of parse out their purchases, kind of like the old layaway plans. Okay, except you don't have to lay away anymore. You get to actually take the product and then pay over 6 months or a year. All right, so we'll definitely get a good reading on the consumer from Affirm later this week. I'm really watching that one. Okay, and we're going to close out the this section with Crocs. Yes, Crocs is still around. All right, believe it or not. Stock is gapped higher today by 4%, but they don't have earnings until Thursday. Thursday, May 8th, before market open. The expected move here, look at that, is greater than 15%. Now, their last earnings announcement, look at this. The stock was trading down here at $89. And then the next morning, they had earnings before market open, and you're opening up at 110. Literally from $89 to 110 in one move. Okay. And that is what is expected again. And you can see that Crocs will gap around even without the earnings announcement. So a nice pop with a nice follow through, that can be an incredible profit if you have the right strategy on through that earnings announcement. All right. So that is our list. That's the stocks that we're focused on this week. And I go through and I scrub these and do all the analysis each and every week and find out what the market makers are pricing into the options and bring all that information to you right here on Earnings Call each and every week. So as we do, I bring you trades each and every week, and we've been on quite a run here on our show. And we have some updated information on our trade from last week. And I got a new trade for you as we head into this big week of earnings for this week. So let's get to those. All right. So last week I brought you Roblox. Okay, RBLX was the symbol, and or is the symbol. Now we have a strangle. We did a strangle, and this strangle cost about $800. Okay, so a decent size trade. So a $12,000-$15,000 account could easily handle this trade. And what we were expecting is for a double-digit move for Roblox, and then we had the earnings announcement. We had a little volatility and had to wait a little bit. And then the stock started moving around. So let's take a look at how the stock is doing, because we're still in this trade. Okay. I sent this trade out to our subscribers as well. All right. And look at this. The stock, after the earnings announcement, did gap up. It gapped 2 days in a row. okay, but yet is still shy of that upper break even. So today the stock is trading lower, but it's higher than the open today. Okay, so it's lower than yesterday's close, but higher than the open today. And we're looking for some additional follow through to the upside. So we have just a little bit of time left in the options. We're going to take advantage of that and manage the risk in the trade. Right now, we're facing a loss of $247. If we were to close out that trade today, worst case scenario for this type of trade, if you were trading this on a, say, $15,000 account, you're looking at just barely a 2%, less than a 2% loss on portfolio. Okay. Just something that's very easy to overcome with really one winner. One winner of these breakout trades can well overcome a small loss like this. But as I mentioned, we're still in the trade. So we're going to manage that. We're going to try to lessen that risk. If I can get out of it with a $90 loss, hey, that's better than a $247 loss, or hold on to it and make a profit, even if it's a $25 profit. Okay, I'll take that. Okay, and we're just conserving that capital to move on to our next trade. So let's get to our next trade. What are we looking at this week? Okay, so for this week, I wanted to go ahead and share one of our consistent winners for you, and that is going to be on Dutch Brothers. Okay, that is our featured trade for the week. This is a strangle on Dutch Brothers. This is also going to be around an $850 debit for a strangle. Okay, we're just strangling the price. We have a call on top and a put on the bottom, different strike prices, same expiration date. Okay, and we are looking for that stock to pop up or drop out of this trading range and to make some nice profits that we have done so many times here on this show. Okay, so as we wrap it up, they will have earnings. What did we mention there on Dutch Brothers? I believe that was Wednesday after market close, and that is correct. Wednesday after market close, and the expected move there is greater than 25%. So we shall see if that happens. All right, so join us here each and every week for earnings call. I'll bring the results of both Roblox and Dutch Brothers to your attention next week. So you will want to come back. You bookmark us and come back each and every week. Everyone have a great trading week. Lots of earnings, financials, consumer discretionary, and energy. Big week for energy. So we will be watching that energy sector pretty closely as well. Everyone have a great trading week, and I will see you again next Monday. Take care.